Yeah, I don't make any noise anymore when I.
No, I was going to say, do you need some more time?
No.
Is this the pre-show routine?
No,
now?
it's just you have to be properly hydrated during the show, which is where we are.
Yeah, but what does this have to do with hydration?
It's stretching out, stretching all the muscles out, getting ready for whatever you're going to toss at me here for the next half hour. Just kind of like, all right, so we are properly stretched and we have hydration and we're good to go.
Because a lot of this is ad-libbing too. Like we kind of a little bit go through some ideas, but probably like half hour goes when.
Literally. So full disclosure for those that are watching us for the first time. Usually late in the week, Ryan will have a list of topics and he'll sit there and go, I want to go here, and here.
Yeah.
Odds are we might hit 2 of the 7 and then have to blow through 5 to get to a half hour.
1.5.
Yeah,
maybe?
really?
Yeah.
I know. So where do you want to start first?
Like last week.
Yeah, really?
I want to begin a lot of stuff too. We're going to talk about the NHL and the London hockey trial players suspended till December, so we'll get into that. That's caused a lot of outrage and uproar, if you will, for obvious reasons. So we'll talk about that. We'll do a little tennis as well. The Kaprizov contract negotiations. I want to run something by you too when it comes to tennis. 3 sets or 5 for the women, or 5 sets to 3 for the men. So we'll talk a bit about that in a sec. I want to begin, though, with the epic comeback by the Buffalo Bills in Week 1 in the National Football League.
No one circles wagons like the Buffalo Bills.
So they were down 40-25, right, in the fourth quarter. And at the 8-minute mark of the fourth, the Bills had a 1.1% chance of winning the game.
Then they did.
Josh Allen decided to do a few things, and namely increase his completion percentage. 251 yards thrown, John, in the fourth quarter. More than 21 other quarterbacks in the league in the entire game. I know it's just game 1, but talk about setting the tone.
I mean, you look at the fourth quarter alone, and all I'm thinking about right now is that tape getting out. Everybody in the National Football League is going to look at Baltimore's defense in that fourth quarter and sit there and go, okay, this is what happens when you take the pedal off the gas.
Yeah.
And
against a team like Buffalo as well.
Yeah, which was mistake number 2. And literally you're sitting there and you're going, okay, is it going to happen? Is it going to happen? Is it going to happen? And I'm looking at this defense and I'm wondering what the meetings were in the defensive meeting rooms this week in Baltimore for the Ravens and how much soul searching there was, how much looking at each other there was. I'm hoping that the index fingers were curtailed, and I hope that, because you don't want to do this. The last thing you need early in the season, you don't want to do that. You don't want sternum poking. You don't want index fingers going out, and you want it to be a learning experience for them that may ultimately cost them a seeding upgrade because they lose to Buffalo. So there's a bunch of different knock-on effects here, and my largest attaboy goes to Matt Prater.
Agreed.
Who basically was like, dude gets a phone call, and it's like, look, just get here in one piece. Just don't hurt yourself. Get here.
Just arrive safely.
We need to kick. And literally 3 days before, he was a normal person again, and then he comes in, kicks the game winner, and I could not be happier for a guy like Matt Prater, who's been
and he's still playing at 62. It's amazing.
He looks like he's 41. I mean, I don't know how it goes, man. This is one of those things. But look,
good.
As long as the leg is still functioning and you can still crush it, then what does it blanking matter what the driver's license says?
No, it doesn't matter. Anything below the waist, if you're at that age, good to go. So the thing,
I'm gonna let that slide.
There you go.
I'm gonna let that
keep it. No. So you mentioned about the whole thing about pointing fingers and all that stuff. Yeah, football's a team game, but this is week 1. And if Baltimore, as we have seen before, we have a long way to go. But if Baltimore wants to get through the AFC, more than likely they will have to get through Buffalo. So this whole game 1 thing, when they meet again, they will remember if the fourth quarter comes around and Buffalo's up or down by 12 or 15 or whatever. Remember what happened in game 1?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Pedal down and learn from today, even though it probably cost you a home game.
Lamar Jackson in that game, too. So he's apologized, and he apologized to a fan. So they exchanged shoves, if you will, during that Baltimore loss on Sunday to Buffalo. So it happened, DeAndre Hopkins had a touchdown the third, and then Ravens players celebrated in the back of the end zone near the crowd. So always think about this, you know the Lambeau Leap in Green Bay.
Yeah.
That's been around forever. I look at some of what these players do, and they leap into the crowd, in the home crowd, that's fine. But football fans are nuts. They're nuts. Soccer is this football. Right. They're crazy. They're crazy. So Jackson apologized. Not going to get fined. He shoved him back, but he did say this. He said, whatever you want to do, that's fine. You can chirp on, but just chill. Take it back a bit. This is one thing I'm always curious about, and my curiosity is not in a good way here. It is the fan interactions with players and athletes. You can see it in the NBA because there's no boundary in the NBA. The first row of seats is basically the boards in hockey.
Yeah.
So you can go in. How many times did we see Shaq when he was playing have a couple of sips of whatever and grab a French fry and all this stuff, right?
I'll have a soda and a French fry.
But this thing for me is, okay, you don't want something really nasty to happen. And not only is the safety of Lamar Jackson, this, I'm just thinking off the top of my head, this reminds me of years ago when Ty Domi was playing for the Leafs and they were in Philly. Remember the guy that he kind of dragged into the penalty box and started to beat the you-know-what out of him? But that is the whole thing about the reaction of a fan can get to the point where he or she cannot turn back. And then if you tick off a Lamar Jackson or somebody else, you've got 20 plus other guys on the field who probably average weight 250 who are not going to be your friend.
I believe it was the great footballer Roy Kent.
Yes.
Who said, just because you buy a ticket, some folks think, and I'm paraphrasing, some folks think that you can say whatever abusive ish you want. And I hate to break it to folks, but last week we got into the whole idea of freedom of speech does not avoid freedom from consequence.
Mm-hmm.
If you're the fan, I am hoping that your tenure as a fan inside that building goes away because you decided to take that extra step and sit there and think that this was a good idea to have a bit of a tete-a-tete with an NFL quarterback. I hope that this is a learning experience for professional football players as well about tuning out the noise. I know, and the thing is that some folks, and we've been in stadia and arenas where folks decide that they want to open their mouth and they want to sit there and say something because they think that it's kitschy, it's funny, it's a good jab.
And they're entitled to, because as you said, they're paying to watch the game.
Right. You are not entitled to say whatever you want to say because, once again, you are paying for the privilege to go into that venue. The venue and the club are just as even-minded toward to sit there. It's like, okay, you decided to do that. Fine, you don't come in here anymore. You're a paying client, great, fine, but look, you overstepped a boundary.
Yeah, so you should pay.
So the way that you pay is that you're no longer allowed into this venue. We see it a lot in Europe with fans that say things and you do tragedy chanting and things like that. The enforcement of that overseas is the larger challenge to me because you're talking about groups of folks and, what are you going to do? Are you going to sit there and put the wanted poster outside each gate at each venue and when you ban somebody? Enforcement is always going to be the problem. But opening your mouth and saying things you shouldn't say, what kind of an example are you setting for those around you? You're a father. You know about setting an example for those around you, whether it is for your kids, the friends of your kids. You never know who you're going to touch with what you do and what you say. I'm hoping that those inside the spheres of both Lamar Jackson and the fan that decided that they wanted to kind of go mouthy at each other, I'm hoping that it's learning experience for both of them as well about what not to do in a situation like that.
Well said. I think what also should be done is the lady the other day or night who took that baseball back when she thought that she had her hand on it, and then the dad picked it up and gave it to his son, and the lady came screaming over. And, of course, we all know what a lady like that, the name is given to her, but I can't stand that name associated with somebody like that, so let's just leave it alone. She should probably be banned from baseball games from
well, and from what I understand.
Talk about setting an example. Come on.
Well, and from what I understand, it appears that the wife, the mom of the young child, might have done a little sleight of hand, and the vociferous Phillies fan didn't even get the correct baseball. So,
you got your inside sources, don't you?
Well, and like I said, this is social media, so take it for as you wish. But if you watch the video, right-hand side flush, just out of frame, you'll see the glove disappear, and you'll see. I think the son kind of looks down a little bit to his left, and he notices something. He kind of does one of these. From what I'm understanding is The wife might have done a little bit of sleight of hand before they handed the ball over, and the individual that was yelling the entire time may not have gotten the treasure that she was hoping.
David Blaine has nothing on that mom. David Blaine has nothing on that. How many minutes or hours did you spend watching that frame by frame, John?
Oh, I zapruded the whole thing. It absolutely was. Down and to the left. That's a magic loogie, sir. Absolutely. And you sit, because somebody says in the caption, hey, take a look. And so, of course, you're going to sit there and you're looking at it and you're going,
yeah.
Oh, really? Look at that. So it might have been one of those moments, but, the irony alert would definitely be there if the yelling woman in question did not get what she was looking for.
Staying with baseball, no baseball team, John, is being outscored like the Colorado Rockies.
Well,
so
awful.
2 weeks left to go. That's one word to use.
They're awful.
2 weeks left to go in the season. They have a plus-minus of minus 377.
Yeah.
Just think about that. I'm not going to do the quick math because I saw this just before we came on and my brain doesn't work that well anymore. Well, probably never did when it comes to
Mine
math.
never has, so you're good to go.
But minus 377. You play 162 games. You have 2 weeks to go. Let's just say, I haven't looked at the schedule.
That's like you're losing on an average 2.5 runs a game.
So that is absurdly awful.
Yes, that is absurdly awful.
I say this every time we talk about hockey, and I do the hockey show on Sirius XM.
So I've heard.
We always joke about who's leading the plus minus at the end of each week. And at the end of the season, I always say you don't want to be leading this category. This is the category you don't want to be leading in. And nobody is catching this team. They play, John, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, I'm right. 81 of their 162 at a very hitter-friendly ballpark where the air is a bit thinner. How are they getting outscored?
Well, okay, so since you went down this, let me see. Mason Laurie had the lowest plus-minus in 24-25. He had a minus 43. So Mason Laurie for Boston, he had a minus 43 when it comes to worst plus-minus in the league. So that's what you're staring at. You had 5-28, 33 points in 77 games. So minus 43 doesn't even touch what it was for what it is for the Colorado Rockies, who are just look, man, they're just not good. They're terrible. They're not good, and that's basically the best way to say it. They're just not good.
I'm looking at. I think they're on pace to lose 122. If I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
So now,
would they suck more than the White Sox did last year?
Probably. So right now they're 40 and 107. And actually, they have gone down to minus 388. So they have a winning percentage of 272.
Okay.
And if I look at the final...
Basically, 2 out of every 7 is basically, that's 286.
Final standings from last year, the White Sox were 41 and 121, 253.
They're right there.
It is neck and neck down the stretch.
They're right there for suck. I mean, nothing like having that kind of a conversation. So who's going to suck more? Last year's White Sox, this year's Rockies. Those are great conversations to have in two media markets. I mean, how could you imagine what sports talk radio must be like to just basically get out the shovel and just sit there every single day after a game? And even if you're the flagship radio station over the air for these teams,
you're trying to find something good.
What do you
and
have?
You can't
I mean, literally, it's like, well, you bring up the kids from AAA. Hey, those Colorado Springs, that just, oh my gosh, I do not envy those on-air talents. They should get gold stars and raises.
No, I agree. Gold stars to Sabalenka and Alcaraz, who won the U.S. Men's and Women's Open. On this day in 2011, Novak Djokovic beat Rafael Nadal to win his first U.S. Open title. So what are we at? 14 years ago, and he's won 20 more since. He's still playing. I want your take on this.
Sure.
First thing is, Novak said this after he lost to, again, Alcaraz and Sinner. He can't beat them. He said, and I paraphrase, and you'll see 3 sets or 5, and this is why I said that. He said, I can't compete with them. They're just too good. Maybe in 3 sets I can, but after 3 sets, I just can't do it. So that made me think about something I've been wondering for a long time. And this really started to hit home to me when Serena was at her prime when she was playing women's tennis. The debate started when she was playing. It was, can she compete at the men's level? And quite possibly, she could probably beat most of the men that were playing back then when she was in her prime. And the discussion was the 3-set thing. Why do women play 3? Why do men play 5? Can women play 5, or should men go down to 3? So my question to you is basically that, based on what Djokovic said, yeah, I can probably go with them for 3 sets, but after that, they're just too good.
Then go to the Masters Tour.
A good point.
I mean, look, the Virginia Slims tournament when back when I was younger, back in the late 17th century, the Virginia Slims tournament that was.
You look great, by the way.
Don't I though? I don't look a day over 402. The Virginia Slims tournament that they used to play at Madison Square Garden, they used to have that end of the season tournament, and for the women it would be 5-setters, just to set themselves up a little differently and try to make it a little more entertaining. They throw that little bit of wild card in there and go to 5 sets. For me, I could see more situations like that. It may not necessarily be in sanctioned tournaments where you're talking, WTA or something like that, but in those wild card tournaments, you could see, just to be a little different, to make it be a little bit more, TV audience. What do we do? What's our hook? Okay, 5 sets. That's our hook. Then for the men, I've seen there have been some tournaments, whether it's Masters and there have been some of those wild card tourneys that aren't ATP, that they would do 3 sets in the preliminary rounds and things like that, like in early rounds, and then you kind of go later on in the tournament, and then you have, as a matter of fact, I think the old tournament that they used to have here in Atlanta used to do best of 3 sets for men.
3? Yeah.
And just to kind of be different. So I would say it's easier to go up to 5 than it would be to go down to 3 and keep your credence when it comes to what folks use as their judging sticks as to the quality of play. I think that if you are on the women's side, look, take care of business in the first 2. You don't have to worry about a third. If you're on the men's side, take care of business, go straight sets in 3. You don't have to worry about sets 4 and 5. For Novak Djokovic to sit there and say, I can't beat them, well, why can't you? Why can't you strategically?
Because he was also born in the 17th century, but you look better than him.
Okay, cool. So then, fine. You've got technology. You've got all the best trainers. You've got folks that know how to do strategery and can figure out the weaknesses of your opponents. That's why you have this cadre of folks behind the scenes that should be able to give you, where's your defensive coordinator? Where's your offensive coordinator to help you out against these opponents that are, 6'9" and can serve a ball 145 miles an hour? Look, just because you can clock it at 160 kilometers an hour, there's got to be a way to defend against that. Jimmy Connors was one of the best at defensive tennis. And what he would do is he focused on return of serve, making it difficult for the larger individual or the faster individual to return and start a rally. So literally, if it's a hot serve coming at you, all you got to do is put the bat in front of the ball, put it in play, and then it's up to the guy who served it to try to figure out how to get the rally started. Work on your defense, get that first ground stroke in there, and then use strategy to work it forward. No, I don't see dropping to 3 sets unless it's an ATP tournament that does something like that. No, the majors, they're 5. The majors should always be 5 for the men. Most of the big tournaments are best of 5 for the men anyway. Keep the women at 3, keep the men at 5.
Irina Sabalenka, and she said this, boy, she's still screaming. Boy, she had a party, eh?
I mean,
I thought it was great at press conference.
If you win, you
do whatever you want. Had the goggles on, ski goggles. I'm going to consume a lot of alcohol. Good on you. And then she went on, I think, NBC Today or something like that with Carlos Alcaraz and was talking. And then I think she called him Yannick Sinner and then said, oh, sorry. And then Alcaraz said, oh, it's okay. It's 9 a.m, whatever. Anyway, she said this, and I think this is really telling. She is one of, if not the strongest women on tour. Okay. And she probably is a lot stronger than a lot of the men on tour. Yeah. But she said, probably physically, I'm one of the strongest, so maybe it would benefit me, but I don't think I am ready to play 5 sets. And then she said, I don't think that this is something women can do. So that's interesting. Again, you would think of anyone who would probably say I can do it, and I think it's fine.
But you're structured, your approach is structured in that best of 3.
No, I understand.
Window.
It's a mindset too, right? And it's a physical.
And so if your body has been constructed, figured out to, it's like, okay, I am here to be in a best of 3 max. of 2 hours and 25 minutes. That's how, and that's how my body is structured to play the sport. Then you try to figure out, okay, fourth and fifth set, then you're going places that you're not used to have trained and endurance and all those different kinds of things.
But that's when injuries can happen.
Right.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right. You push yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Two more, and they're both to do with the National Hockey League.
Right
so reportedly, Kirill Kaprizov and his agent and his camp rejected a record-setting deal offered to him by the Minnesota Wild. It would have made him the highest-paid player ever, not just in the game today, but ever. Word is that did not happen. Bill Guerin said, I don't know who came out with that. It didn't come out from us. It didn't come out from the agent. I know those things for a fact. We are getting close. It is just time, and we're not in any rush, but he will get signed. He was looking at the AAV of something like 16 mil, John, and it was an 8-year contract as well, because until you become and hit the free agency again with a new CBA, you're not going to do the 8, you're going to be 7, but the only team that can do it now is the team you're with, still until you're a UFA, and that's the 8 years.
These Larry Bird rules.
Crazy. So to me, this is just something, I didn't think the story was legit. When you have Bill Guerin coming out, I know people can say whatever they want, that's fine, but I do firmly believe that there was maybe not this massive contract rejection, but I do believe there is talks, and maybe, from what I gather, Kaprizov is looking at the length of term with these deals. And I do not see, for starting this year, next year, the year after that, and we've seen this already in the National Hockey League based on the cap and based on teams and the age that these players are at. I don't see a lot of these players signing these long-term deals anymore. I don't see it. I see a max at some point being 5, being the average or being the high, say 5-10 years from now. Because if you got the cap going up incrementally, which it is, each of the next 3, probably it's going to go up incrementally after that, each of those next 3, then you sign a 3-year deal. You sign a 5-year deal. Things can change. Bet on yourself. You're not going to change your style, but the team may not be good in 4 years. And then what are you left with? Well, if I'm Kirill, I'm up with 4 more years on this team. Yeah, you're paying me money, but I'm not winning. Where do you stand?
Let's play hockey. Well, first and foremost, I think it goes back
October 7th.
I think it goes back to the discussion that we had last week, where if I am toward the end of a deal, I would sign a 4, go to the end of, what I would do is I would cater my deal to the end of the current PA contract. You go to that edge, and then you can sit there if you want to go option, fine. But what I would do is line it up to the remainder of the deal, max it out if you want to. I would go max for 3 or 4 years until the end of the current deal with the NHL, with the league and the NHLPA. Then when you know that you're not going to have a work stoppage, you know that what the deal is in place, you know what the add-ons are going to be, if the cap is going to go X number of percentage points up and above, then get me to that first finish line. Then I'll sit there and I'll think about it later. It's like, because I don't know when it's going to take for a renegotiation of the new contract, of the new CBA deal. Get me to the end of this CBA deal with my new contract, and then I'll worry about the rest of it later. Max me out, because the cap can only do so much, and you've also got to keep in mind who you want for your teammates, and goes back to that whole idea of, great, you can pay me and max me out, that's fantastic, but if I don't have the pieces around me, then we ain't winning nothing.
8-year deal reportedly at 128. That was the extension offer. He's into the last year of a deal that is 5 years and 45. So if he did sign that, he would have almost doubled his salary from 9 to, well, it's almost 18, but to 16.
Yeah, so that's your like 78% increase in your deal. Like I said, I don't know what the next CBA entails. I'm going to work on my club with the remainder of this CBA, max me out. We'll figure it out later. I'm going to get to point A before I worry about the rest of the stuff down the line.
Last one here, and this certainly raised a lot of eyebrows and gained a lot of following for a while. The NHL announcing on Thursday that the 5 former players of Canada's 2018 World Junior Hockey team that were acquitted of sexual assault charges in July will be suspended until the 1st of December. Alex Formanton, Michael McLeod, Carter Hart, Dylan Dubé, Kellen Foote, they are eligible to sign, John, with the team as soon as October 15th, but they cannot play a single game in the league until December the 1st if they are signed and if they choose to go down that road. So, of course, the sexual assault charges that they were acquitted of, That's something that reared its ugly head with a lot of different people on social and a lot of different feelings with that. This is also starting to rear its ugly head as well.
The way that it is laid out, and for those that may not know in depth, just as a caveat, if Rick Westhead is on the byline, or if he is the one who is piecing it together in video form, that is one of the last dudes that you want covering you in a story. Rick did some tremendous work in this. And if you don't follow him on social media in general, I would ask that you do as today's public service. NHL said in a statement following the verdict in late July by Justice Maria Carroccia that even though the players were found not guilty, their actions were, quote, unacceptable, and the players were ineligible to return to the league while it reviewed the decision. Then the NHLPA criticized the league's position in July, saying the ruling didn't align with the terms of the CBA. Then you had a statement from the NHLPA, pleased that the five will have the opportunity to resume their NHL careers. Players cooperated with every investigation. Upon their full acquittal by Superior Court Justice Maria Carroccia, we initiated discussions with the NHL regarding the players' return to work. To avoid a protracted dispute that would cause further delay, we reached the resolution that the league announced today. We now consider the matter closed and look forward to the players' return. Dubé, Foote, Hart, and McLeod were playing in the NHL until charges were announced during the 23-24 season, currently UFAs. Formanton has been out of the league since 22, rejoined Swiss club HC Ambri Piotta earlier in September. You have to navigate the legalese that is attached to all of this. So I am not surprised that you ended up with something in the middle when it comes to the reinstatement of these five individuals. So
No, I agree.
you knew it was going to be somewhere in here, and we now know where the in here is. But now the question is, since the 4 of the 5 are UFAs, which clubs are going to be willing to go down this road and take a flyer on these individuals, and how much due diligence and how much interviewing are they going to do to be satisfied enough to have them under their tent when it comes to their system? So that to me is the next part in this. Okay, great, you're suspended until December, but what is the due diligence going to be done by which clubs to figure out, we think that they can be a part of things and grow as individuals and be a part of our growth as a team.
In the release by the NHL, they said every one of the players, they've had in-person meetings with the league following the verdicts, and they expressed remorse. And the league was very well worded and very carefully worded, which they needed to do. Here's my thing with all this. It went to court, and the verdict was what it was. And you, just based on the two of us, we will never know what happened and all that. That is that. But what we do know is what the verdict was and what it is. The players now have a chance to get back in the league. I don't think a bunch of them will. I do believe that one specifically will get a shot, Carter Hart. I do think that teams will be interested in that. But you're right. This is now something that is going to follow these players, and it already has, everywhere they play and every game that they go. We talked a bit about what fans do and what they did with Lamar Jackson.
Look at
whenever.
You going full circle with this show.
Exactly. Yeah. So everything is going to come here that these players have to deal with. And you make a great point about now, if a team does sign one of or any of them, it is now the team's responsibility as well. I compare it in this just a tiny bit. The Anaheim Ducks hired Joel Quenneville as their new head coach. Joel Quenneville, he was found out to be part that he knew about the sexual assault or all that stuff that happened with Kyle Beach, and he knew of it back then when the Chicago Blackhawks were on their way to winning the Cup, and they didn't want to do anything about it because they didn't want to upset how the team was going and all that. But there is an opportunity for a team to bring on a Joel Quenneville who has also been involved in something like this to an extent, and they're giving him a chance. I hope it works out for whatever it does, but I certainly do hope it still is okay for the victim involved in all this too.
And that is one element in this that I hope is never lost in this situation or any situation involving the legal process, is that we should always remember those that come forward in these situations and treat them with as much respect in the process as we possibly can.
All right, we're out of time. That was good. Good way to end. Certainly, we will be back probably after the weekend. Going to be a lot of fun again in the National Football League. Baseball pennant races heating up. The Rockies will probably be at minus 530, John, probably by the time we reconvene next week.
Yeah.
Maybe. We shall see. w.specialtymedia.ca. Get us on YouTube. Follow us on all the outlets as well. And as you're pointing all on us, let me just maybe throw in kind of this here as we leave. Okay, there it is. Go to Pate's Arc Week. John, always a pleasure, and we will do this again next week.